I tried beating Calamity's INFERNUM mod, but every enemy drops random loot, meaning that a slime can drop anything from a piece of dirt all the way to endgame gear. Will I be able to defeat all of the INFERNUM bosses, or is the RNG not on my side? Starting off, I did the basic Terraria things. I started killing some enemies. One of the very first weapons that I got was the Nebulash Whip, which is a hard mode flail that is actually dropped by the boss Astrum Arius. So we are already ahead of the schedule. We got pretty good weapons. Now I'm gonna preface this entire playthrough by saying I cannot craft any item. So the only way for me to progress within this mode is to actually randomly get every single boss drop, every single item, all the armor pieces, because crafting is not an option. Upon killing a couple more mobs, I got myself the spider egg pet, which I thought was pretty cute. And upon killing another slime, I got the Tyranny's End, which I'm pretty sure is a very late game, if not end game weapon that I do have the ability to use, but I did not consider using this weapon because I wanted to do more of a melee playthrough. But classes are subject to change, and if I can't get enough melee weapons, then I might switch my class to maybe mage or maybe summoner. Upon exploring a little bit further, I got myself the Brim Flare headpiece, which is a nice piece of armor that will give us a little bit of defense now. It would be best to get either endgame armor or get a full set of Brim Flare, so in the future you will see that I will start stacking armor pieces and collecting them like trading cards, because goddamn I do need some armor, and this was one of the main limiting factors that held me back in this playthrough. Getting good armor. The weapons come easy, the armor, that's what's difficult. Next, I got the Astral Leggings, which gave us a little bit more defense. I got the Chlorophyte Chestplate, which gave us even more defense. And then I started building a little home, and this is where I ran into our first and biggest dilemma. Since we can't craft, we have to kind of cheese the NPCs here and there, but we can't really build houses without crafting. So halfway through building my first house, I realized that I'm gonna have to go mining and break real world cavern structures to get ourselves doors, walls, platforms, and so on. Upon killing a mob, I got a brand new item that allowed us to teleport all around the world. I'm pretty sure this is from some quality of life mod. It doesn't really break the game too much, so I kept it in and it was quite useful. You can't use it during boss fights, so it did help us traverse around the world a little bit, but never cheese any bosses. Upon killing a zombie, I got myself a weapon called the Hell's Sun, which was a rogue weapon, but I did put it in my inventory because it dealt probably the most damage out of any weapons that we have so far. So, new update, we got a brand new weapon, let's go. Very soon after, I got the Status Ninja Belt, which does a whole bunch of amazing things, but it does one thing in particular that I was very happy about. It allowed us the ability to dash. Now, I don't know if you've ever played INFERNUM, if you've ever played even Calamity, or even Terraria on the harder difficulties, but if you have, you will know that dashing is by far one of the most important abilities that you must have if you want to make any progress within these harder modes. So getting a dashing accessory early is definitely a head start. Now, you may be thinking, Boyo, I feel like this challenge is a little bit too easy and it's moving too fast. You're getting all these endgame items, you're progressing extremely quickly, you know, some of the bosses very soon will go down very fast as well. What is the challenge here? This playthrough took me 1/3 of the time that it took me to beat a regular INFERNUM playthrough. It took me 10 hours to do this challenge compared to the 30 hours it takes me to beat an INFERNUM run. Now, yes, it's not as difficult, but the challenge here lies within the RNG. Sure, the beginning of the game may go by a little bit more speedier, but as we get into hard mode, post Moonlord, and as we approach the endgame bosses, this challenge becomes exponentially more difficult. It may have taken me only 3 hours to get past Moonlord, but to go from Moonlord to Devourer of Gods took me 3 hours, and then from Devourer of Gods to Supreme Calamitas took me probably another 3 to 4 hours. The RNG is really what makes or breaks this challenge, and within this playthrough, you will see that the RNG wasn't really that much on my side, and I spent hours grinding various events. Anyways, I came back to spawn, put down a couple of workbenches that I found, tried my best to build up our houses a little bit, and while organizing my chests, one of the slimes that were killed dropped the Entropic Claymore. which honestly wasn't a weapon that dealt a lot of damage, but I thought it looked pretty neat. I don't even know why I have this written down as a key moment in the playthrough, but we got this weird sword that shoots out these volatile beams, so I hope you guys enjoy that. Anyways, I got a fairy merchant. This is pretty cool. We can gain access to the merchant if that's of any note. And then I went into the caverns to farm out some life crystals, because I am not going to be able to find enough from just the drops themselves. And imagine, it's like a 1 in 7,000 drop chance, so I would have to do that times 7, 1 in 40,000 different I don't know the math. The math is crazy. While killing some enemies, I got myself the permanent well-fed buff. This is another indispensable thing within this playthrough that you will come to see. Any type of unlimited buff, which are items from the Louis AFK mod, are going to be crucial in our survival. Upon exploring further, I got the enchanted moon dial, which we can use to skip time, but once again, I probably will never come to use this item. And while exploring further, I got a bunch of other pretty neat items that I will be able to store in my chest. I found one of those underground houses that I was talking about, and I started breaking that. Got myself some doors, a table, a workbench. I got an Auric Tesla headpiece, which is possibly the best armor piece that we have thus far. I got a weapon called the Eternity, and I also got a Palladium pickaxe and Orichalcum chainsaw, which are going to be a nice upgrade from our copper axe and copper pickaxe. While killing some enemies, I got a Moonlord treasure bag, opened it up, and deleted most of the things that we did not need, like the ore. We could have sold it for money, but in this challenge, money isn't really a big issue. After organizing my chest and feeling a little bit geared up, I went to go fight the perforators. Why the perforators? Well, because it's the only thing that we can really summon. I thought you may enjoy a boss fight.
I be popping bottles, sparkles and champagne.
After this abysmally small, short boss fight was over, I actually got a pair of Exodus wings, which is a pair of post-Moonlord wings, allowing us to fly longer, faster, and better in every single way imaginable. While I was in the Crimson trying to make my way to the Brain of Cthulhu, I found all the necessary life crystals to get myself to full HP, and then I went to go fight the Brain of Cthulhu. After defeating the Brain of Cthulhu, I got myself the Axe of Purity, which I traded for my Orichalcum chainsaw. I went over to the dungeon, defeated Skeletron quite easily due to a weapon that I got called the Essence Flayer, which I'm pretty sure is like a post-Devourer of Gods Reaper Scythe. So using this, I defeated Skeletron, went into the dungeon, and then farmed out a bunch of the enemies for crazy loot. This was a ridiculous way to get all the loot that we needed to progress further in the game, and I had a lot of fun deleting items, clearing my inventory, and trying to not accidentally delete the most important items that we're going to need. As I came back to spawn, we got invaded by goblins, so I took out the goblin army and also organized a bunch of my chests. After this, I got the summon for the Desert Scourge, so I headed over to Dubai and I summoned in the freaky, the long, the very hard Desert Scourge. This boss went down extremely quickly, and then I went over to build NPC houses. At this point, I got the plan down. I teleport to the underworld, pick up all the random walls from the underground buildings, I pick up the doors, pick up the tables, the chairs, and transport it back to my base and put it there. Doing this super complex method, we ended up getting a bunch of NPC houses, and when I ran out of doors, tables, and chairs and walls, I went to the underworld and just picked shit up from there. Ain't nobody gonna be complaining. It's not like the demons are living in here or anything. Since I had the summon for the Wall of Flesh, I decided to give this a shot, and using the Essence Flayer, this boss fight was an absolute breeze. So we are officially now in hard mode within the first hour of playing the game. I told you this goes fast at the start. It only took 1 hour to get into hard mode. It's probably going to take another hour to get post Moonlord, and then post Moonlord to the end of the game is going to take another 8 hours. Since I also had the summon for Skeletron Prime, I decided to take him out right after we took out the Wall of Flesh. And this is how that went. I kept on building NPC houses, and while killing an enemy, I got the Cryo Key, so I decided to go out of my way and challenge Cryogen. After defeating Cryogen, I killed the Queen Bee, and I also got the Poltergeist Expert Mode bag. I collected some life fruits, died to Plantera like a total idiot, and then fought Plantera again. During this time, I got the Moonlord summon, so I put that in my handy dandy back pocket, and then I went to go clear out the Golem Temple and went on to fight Golem. A lot of these these Infernum mode bosses I have memorized. This mode hasn't been updated in quite a while, and there's no plans to update Infernum mode, so everything that I've learned over the countless times that I've played Infernum mode, I have kept, and this is why some of the bosses come quite easy to me. And also do remember the fact that I have post-devour of god weapons, so that may also help just a little bit. Anyways, after defeating Golem, I got the Picksaw, which was a better version of the Palladium pickaxe, a much needed upgrade. I then went to fight the Cultist, which we took out with ease, and as the lunar invasions propped up, I used this as a perfect excuse to start farming out a bunch of items. Taking on the Stardust Pillar first, we got the Abyssal Diving Suit, which may or may not come useful when going to the Abyss. Then I accidentally killed the Prismatic Lacewing and summoned in the Empress of Light, which was fun. I got myself the Brim Flare chestplate, which was an upgrade to our previous armor, and then I went to go take on the Vortex Pillar, the Nebula Pillar, and the Solar Pillar in that exact order up until we summoned in the Moonlord. Now, did I die to the Moonlord? Maybe once, maybe twice. A couple of times I did, but the boss fight wasn't too challenging, seeing as we have the Dragon POW weapon that I recently got, and also the Post-Devourer of Gods Scythe. So after failing Moonlord a couple of times, I decided to actually go take on the Leviathan. Then I tried Moonlord a couple more times again, and this time we beat him. After defeating the Moonlord, I went to go farm items within the Corruption using the ultimate battler buffs, because since we can't craft items, we need one special thing to actually progress the game, and that is the Profane Shard. This is where the majority of our struggle comes through. It now has taken us 2 hours to get post Moonlord, so that means this last 1/4 of the game actually takes up 75% of all of our time spent. After I got myself the Profane Shard, I summoned in my little Stardust Dragon, and I went to go try the Profane Guardians. This is how that went. After failing miserably, I decided to maybe take on a couple of different bosses, so I took out the hardest one I could think of next to the Profane Guardians, and that was the Eye of Cthulhu. This was a very intense boss fight, and then after this, I went to take on Calamity. I took out the Deerclops, and I went over to the jungle to farm for life fruit, and also some items along the way. After finding a jungle lab, I found some power cell factories, which reminded me that yes, soon we're gonna have to fight the Exomech, so I should probably start saving up power cells right now, immediately, because it's better to get this out of the way earlier than to wait hours and hours later. I placed down the power cell factories, and I went to build some NPC houses. Now, there was an actual strategy towards why I was building more NPC houses. You see, since I couldn't find enough life fruit because we've only been playing this game for literally 2 hours, and yes, we're already post Moonlord, we're going to have to buy the life fruit from a Calamity NPC instead of finding them naturally, because no way in hell are we going to find them now. Once this NPC spawned, I bought the life crystals and got myself to max HP. I used a blood orange, which upgraded our HP. I took out the dark mage for some reason, I just had the spawn, and then I started a Martian invasion 3 separate times, 3 different phases, and went to go grind loot because, well, we are a little bit too underpowered, I would say, to take on the Profane Guardians. Yeah. Or maybe I'm just bad at the game. Anyways, first phase, we ended up getting the Murasama, but as I was going to pick it up, it fucking despawned. Phase 2, I got a Exomex bag, I got the Galaxia, and I got the Mechanical Worm. And phase 3, I got Draydon's Forge, which is useless. So next, I took out the Destroyer once I had the chance, and then instead of farming the Martians, I came up with a better idea, which was absolutely genius, and that was to use the Blood Moon instead of the Martians, as they deal less damage and mobs come faster, and I can just farm out items much quicker. So using this Blood Moon strategy, I got so many goddamn good items. After the Blood Moon was over and I organized my chest, I went to go take on the King Slime, I took out the Acid Rain, I took out the Giant Clam, and then we went on to fight the Profane Guardians. But for real this time, like for real, this time I'm gonna commit to beating them, so let's go. We took out the Profane Guardians, and then I went to try Providence. Our first time trying it, it freaking despawned, so that was cool. Very soon after though, we ended up beating Providence. Why? Because we have amazing things. Providence isn't really that hard of a boss, and when I did my Infernum mode playthrough that you guys never saw because my freaking video got 10,000 views, and I didn't post the rest of them because I didn't want to edit 100 hours for a video that's only going to make me $10 worth of income, I actually beat Providence, and I beat Supreme Calamitas, and I beat all of the bosses, so I'm not that bad at the game, trust me. After Providence, I went to to take out, in sequence, Stormweaver, Cygnus, and the Ceaseless Void. After the Sentinels were devoured, I went to take on the Blood Moon once more, and then farmed and farmed and farmed, trying to get better items, maybe get a full set of Auric Tesla armor, or maybe Blood Flare armor. I was kind of looking out for anything that came our way. I would usually delete almost everything except for some good weapons, or if I saw some really good drops like the aforementioned armor, maybe some good accessories. But besides that, everything else is going to the trash, and that is without exception. While farming the Blood Moon, I got the Asgard's Aegis, which is just a better version of any type of dash accessory that we have. I got myself the Yarn Egg, so we can now summon this bad boy. I got myself Seraph Tracers. I got the Murasama, and now this whole time I was farming for the Devourer of Gods Worm because that's the next logical boss, and literally after farming for an hour, I still did not have the summon for this guy. The next hour was spent Blood Moon farming, so I'm gonna cut this hour worth of footage into 10 seconds of what you actually need to see that happened. I got the summon for the Devourer of Gods. After I got the summon, I went to go fight the Devourer. No arena at all. Why? Because this boss isn't that difficult. And also, while farming, I got the Morning Star, I got a Demon Shade chestplate, I got Brimstone boots, I got the Illustrious knives, a bunch of great endgame weapons, making the Devourer of Gods fight pretty easy. After the first literal try, we got very close to defeating him, and so I pushed this a little bit further, and we took out the Devourer with ease. I went over to the jungle, summoned in Yarn, being a greedy guy, and I got obliterated. For Yarn, I actually decided to dig out a little arena. I wasn't going to be so big ball with this guy. Before going to fight him, I looked through a couple of the chests to see if maybe we have some more overpowered items. Maybe we can cheese the boss somehow, but unsurprisingly, I found nothing really that good. So I decided to go and search for the Goblin Tinker. After finding the Goblin Tinker, I reforged everything to warding. I don't know why. Warding kind of sucks for Infernum. I should have went for menacing, but I fixed this issue later in the playthrough. And after clearing more of an arena, I went to fight Yarn. This is how that went. After defeating Yarn, I went through all of the various different laboratories to get the summons for the mech bosses. We're gonna have to decrypt all of these schematics, we're gonna have to add all the various different things to the code breaker, but little did I know that this was all a waste of freaking time because I didn't have to decrypt anything as long as I had the items, and I had most of the items, except for two very annoying things, which was the Auric Tesla cooling unit and the code breaker itself. We went to go farm the Blood Moon for that. Just as with the Devourer of Gods, the Blood Moon was our best friend. I built a couple of NPC houses, thinking that maybe some NPC sells the items for the summon to the mechs, but apparently not, so I built all of these houses for no reason. I kept farming the Blood Moon, and this is where I ran into two very special items that helped me significantly progress the game forward. That was the Creative Storage Unit from the Magic Storage mod, and eventually the Storage Heart, which I've been waiting to find this entire game, because that would have made the whole playthrough much easier if I could just store things in the magic storage as compared to my inventory and chests. But why the Creative Storage Unit is so special is that it allows us to get any item in the game. Am I cheesing this? Of course I am. But is this within the rules that we have set for the game? Yes. So I got myself all the items, the code breaker, the Auric Tesla cell, and I built the computer and went on to try Exomex. Am I coping? Did I cheese the playthrough? Probably, but we're basically at the end of the game. Give me a break. I've literally been farming these items for 6 hours and still have not gotten these summons for the Exomex. After trying to defeat these mechanical contraptions, I realized that we are so screwed if we do not build an arena. So I went on, used my Crystal Crusher, and built a gigantic arena. After finishing up the arena, I got the best gear for the melee class, I got the best reforges, and I went on to try Exomex. After about 100 deaths, I realized that maybe Unk is not so good at the game anymore. And after taking a look at my arena, I realized exactly why. My arena was way too small, and I was always running to the edge of it, which made it very difficult to get close to defeating any of these bosses. So I expanded the arena and gave myself a break by fighting Supreme Calamitas instead. Deciding that I want to break from both of these bosses, I went on to take every single other boss and 100% the boss checklist before moving on to the final bosses of the game. I fought the Slime God, Crabulon, the Hive Mind, Torch God, Old One's Army, Queen Slime, the Aquatic Scourge. I took out the Acid Rain, the Brimstone Elemental. I took out the Pirates, the Frost Moon, the Pumpkin Moon, the Solar Eclipse, the Plaguebringer Goliath. We took out the Frost Legion. I took out Astrum Arius, then Astrum Dias, the Great Sand Shark and his little puppet, which didn't work, so I just checked it off because I wasn't able to get into the dimension. I took out the Empress, Ravager, Dragon Folly, Poltergast, and Old Duke, with the remaining third post Moonlord tier of the Acid Rain. That is every single boss defeated in Infernum except for the Exomex and Supreme Calamitas. And Boss Rush, but we're not going to talk about that one. And so after this, I went back to fighting Supreme Calamitas. I was grinding Supreme Calamitas this entire time, and in a couple of attempts we did get close, but that desperation phase always got to me. After realizing that my weapons don't really do enough damage, I decided to get menacing reforges on every single one of my accessories, and I also reforged my weapons to the best reforges, and I kept on grinding Supreme Calamitas. I decided to switch up halfway and fight the Exomex, in which I actually beat them, with the help of a summon, that being Ares Exoskeleton. After defeating the Exomex, I went back to grinding Supreme Calamitas. Couple of times here and there we got to the very end, up until we actually beat Supreme Calamitas and took out this challenge. Consider subscribing to the channel. If we can get to 300k before the New Year's, I'll drop a twerking video.